My name is Max. Have you ever had one of those years that things just don't go the way you plan? Well, this is my story. It all started when I was surfing on the net and saw an ad. It was only for a joke, but when I filled it out, I was quite surprised when I was accepted for this special tactic force team, those highly trained individuals who took on the toughest crimes that society could breed. I always had two left feet, I was more of your thinker than your brawler. But I did not let it stop me. I had to prove to myself I am more than I am. I felt like I was in a war of my own, battling with my worst enemy, me. Pushing myself to the limits, removing objects that stood in my way, grudging through the dirt of life. I was compelled to finish. I needed to graduate. I needed to prove that I was someone that my mother could be proud of. God rest her soul. What did you expect? An actual tug of war? Right. Here I am now, testing my upper body strength. Fumbling around on the ropes like a dangling orangutan. I could not climb it, so I did the next best thing. I decided to swing like the famous ape man. I realized it wasn't for me. The famous balancing beam, where one can learn perfect precision of balance. The final test, the circle of death, where every warrior battles with a fierce opponent to achieve the final goal of his victory. Since I had no one to compete with except for the kitten, I decided to shadowbox. As I found myself accelerating in my technique, I literally knocked myself out. After boot camp, I was put into position. For my first case, 3 months later, I'm still working on catching this monster of a person. This is not your average kind of case, It was a risky one, mainly my life. I had to deal with this sadistic, ruthless murderer on this side of Hades. This guy is slipperier than oil. That's him, T-Rex, the meanest barbarian I've ever met. This dude is 6'2", 225 pounds. I swear that this guy eats bullets and spits fire for lunch. He eludes me every time I try to make an arrest. So I chase him into the small town, but no matter how hard I try, I just can't seem to make anything stick with him. Sometimes I feel like I'm in this cartoon reel, a cat and mouse chase routine. And he always seems to get the upper hand on me and lands me with a sucker punch. I guess what they say is true. What you fear the most comes upon you quickly. Well, here I am facing my worst nightmare, struggling to survive from this mountain of pain. I gave him everything I had, but it didn't affect him? Hell no! Now I was feeling every imaginable pain there was. But the back pain? That was it. After an hour high-octane workout, I would escort T-Rex down to the station and file some reports. Well, he complained about his civil rights of being abused, and I'm charged with brutality? And T-Rex is free to go? Better luck next time, Max. Then he smiles at me and walks off. I swear, I think this guy likes to taunt me. Life has a funny way of turning things around. As I was at my desk, sifting through my records, my boss peeks his head in and said, "Max, get into my office now." Great. Now what? Boy, I tell you, some days are just not worth it. As I walked in, I just asked, "You wanted to see me, sir?" Tosses the files at me and tells me I'm going to Asia, more specifically, the Philippines. Excuse me, sir? Are you serious? I haven't been in the Philippines. I was deported. I'd love to hear your story. Everything has been arranged. Then he walked up to me like a drill sergeant. I don't have to remind you again. Make the arrest stick and don't screw it up. They say it is always darkest before the dawn. Well, it's bad enough that I had to chase this barbarian around the world. But why does it have to be back here? The Philippines, a beautiful country with 2 seasons, hot seasons and wet seasons. I hope and pray that the Manila dudes don't put me back into detention. Now, like every good story, there is always a woman. But in my case, it was a nun with a child who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. After a month being in the Philippines, I finally am closing in on T-Rex. I have information that he is dealing with drugs and gun smuggling. And he thinks that no one can touch him. While I was talking on the phone with my contact, explaining the gravity of the situation, keeping an eye on this man, then I saw her, the nun, with the child. She was asking some questions, and he attempts to make an advance on her. I knew she was in trouble after she slapped him. As she was pinned up against the wall at gunpoint, I saw her lips saying something like, "Oh Jesus, save me! Get me back up now!" As I ran across the street toward them, I saw T-Rex muttering something. I knew she was in deep danger. When he threw me up against that wall and lifted me off my feet, all I could say, "Holy crap! God, help me!" Yep, I felt like a real hero, pinned up against the wall. No, actually, I felt helpless as a kitten in a dog's jaws of death. He laughs at me. "How in the world did you find me, Max? I'm going to kill you!" And then he laughs even more like a mad clown. "You can try," I cried out. "Oh, the mosquitoes are biting." He mocks me. And with everything I had, I put him down. I brought you your jewelry, T-Rex. You are more stupid than I thought you were. In a third world country? Good night.